In this session, we'll illustrate how several different construction tools can be used to construct a simple drawing. After changing the Startup option in AutoCAD so that the dialog screen shown here is displayed, we'll select the Start from Scratch option. Next, we'll set the default settings to metric and then click on the OK button. We'll now change the display of the drawing units by selecting the pull-down menu options, Format, and then Units. In the Drawing Units window, we'll now set the precision to no digits after the decimal point, and then click the OK button. In order to set the grid and snap spacing, we'll select the options Tools and then Drafting Settings. Under the Snap and Grid tab of the window that has just opened, we'll set both the grid and snap spacing to 10 and make sure that both the Snap On and Grid On boxes are checked before clicking the OK button. We'll next set the limits of our drawing by selecting the pull-down menu options, Format, and then Drawing Limits. Using the Dynamic Input Entry method, we will now key in a value for the lower left corner of the drawing of -200, and then tab over to the next field and enter -150. We'll next click in the command prompt area and enter 200, 150 to define the upper right corner of the drawing. Next, in order to display the entire drawing area on the screen, we'll select the Zoom All icon from the standard toolbar. We are now ready to begin drawing several circles, which we'll start to do by clicking on the circle icon in the drawing toolbar. We'll next place the center of the first circle at the origin of the coordinate system by clicking on this location and then moving the crosshairs to the right until a value of 50 is displayed to define its radius. In order to create a second circle, we'll press the spacebar, which repeats the circle command, and then move the crosshairs to 70, 40 to define the coordinates of the center of the circle. Next, we'll key in 25 to define the radius. The third circle is created by keying in values that define its center to be located at -50, -60, and its radius to be 25. The next step in creating our drawing is to draw lines that are tangent to the circles. In order to detect tangency locations, we'll first have to display the Object Snap toolbar by positioning the cursor in the standard toolbar area and then clicking the right mouse button. We'll now click on the Object Snap option to display this toolbar. Before we'll draw any lines, we'll now make sure that only the Grid and Model options are turned on in the status bar area at the bottom of the screen. We are now ready to draw the lines, so we'll click on the line icon. Next, we'll select the Snap to Tangent option in the Object Snap toolbar. As you can now see, a tangency indicator is displayed as we position the cursor over the circle prior to selecting this location as the first end of the line. We'll now again select the Snap to Tangent option in the Object Snap toolbar, followed by clicking on the other circle. In order to end the line command, we'll right-click the mouse and select the Enter option. To draw the next line, we'll repeat the process of selecting the Line option, followed by clicking on the Snap to Tangent option prior to defining each end of the line, and then right-clicking the mouse and selecting the Enter option. The next step is to draw circles that are tangent to the existing circles. We'll start this process by first clicking on the circle icon and then clicking the right mouse button in order to display the option menu. In the option menu, we'll now select the Tangent, Tangent, Radius option. Now we'll click on the two circles as shown here after we see the tangency indicator. To finish the definition of the circle, we'll now key in a 50 to define the radius of the circle. We'll now repeat this process in order to define another circle that has a radius of 40 and is tangent to the two circles as shown here. In this session, we'll finish our drawing by trimming several circles and then add a couple of polygons and a circle. We'll start by selecting the Trim option to start the process of eliminating parts of the circles. The first objects that we'll select now are called the boundary edges. Next, we'll right-click the mouse in order to stop the process of selecting the boundary edges, and then click on a portion of the circle that we would like to eliminate. In order to stop the trim process, we'll right-click the mouse and then select the Enter option. In order to trim the other portions of the circles, we'll now repeat this process of selecting the Trim icon, followed by clicking on the circles and/or lines that define the boundary edges. And then we'll select the portions of the circles to be trimmed. In order to finish the drawing, we need to draw a couple of polygons and a circle. We'll start by clicking on the polygon icon in the Draw toolbar. Next, we'll key in a value of 6 to define the number of sides of the polygon that we will be drawing. To define the center of the polygon, we'll key in 0, 0. Next, we'll right-click the mouse and select the option shown here, followed by keying in a radius of 30 in order to define the size of the polygon. We'll now draw another polygon by first right-clicking the mouse and selecting the Repeat option. And then we'll key in a 4 to indicate that we will be creating a square. Before we define the center of the polygon, we'll click on the Snap to Center option in the Object Snap toolbar. And then click on the arc shown here after we see the center indicator appear. Next, we'll right-click the mouse and select the option shown here. Prior to indicating the location, we'll first turn on the Grid Snap option that is located in the status bar. And then click on the grid point that is just to the right of the center of the polygon. Next, we'll click on the circle icon in order to start the process of creating a concentric circle. Then we'll click on the Snap to Center option in the Object Snap toolbar. After turning off the Snap option in the status bar, we'll position the crosshairs as shown here and then click the mouse after we see the center indicator. Next, we'll key in a value of 10 to define the radius of the circle. Our last step is to use the drop-down menu under File to save the drawing file.